All clips, photos, and music used in this video are owned by the respective companies. I do not claim to own any rights to these properties. All assets are used for learning and reviewing purposes.
Hello everyone, welcome. This is Christian from Nothing But Horror here, and look, I know during this time it is rough having to be home all day. It can be a pain in the ass with barely anything to do after 14 days in, and trust me, it makes me want to rip my hair out just as bad as you do. As we stay inside and wait for the world to get better, I'm here to help ease that pain a little bit by recommending you 6 horror movies you should watch during quarantine. Now keep in mind that these films are all based on my own opinions and feelings for these films. These are also not considered to be placed in any order, so this is not a top 6 ranking type of video. So let's get started. I want to start my list off with one of the early horror releases of 2019. Escape Room. A fun, fearful movie that left me on the edge of my seat at certain points. Trust me, this film left me a bit scared to ever try another escape room again. This movie stars a big cast of TV show actors from Lost in Space, The Walking Dead, Insecure, Daredevil, and more. Now the story, as the title says itself, revolves around an escape room where 6 complete strangers compete for the grand prize of $10,000. But each of these unknowingly victims will soon learn that this place isn't just about fun and game. Now this movie is very entertaining. I really love the set design. It's truly amazing as each set is completely different from one another and heavily creates a sense of dread, tension, and suspense throughout them. They also aren't quite easy either, because truthfully I don't think I would have figured out maybe like the last 3. I seriously love all the little nods that relate to each character that are spread all throughout the rooms in which they travel. The reason behind as to why they are all chosen for this event is pretty interesting too. This movie does give off a very PG-13 kind of Saw feeling to it, as the rooms feel like traps, but at least these ones don't force you to saw off your own flesh or have you ripping out your jaw to the floor. This film is a small, clever look into making something as simple as a fun escape room into a horrifying nightmare that leaves you questioning as to why people would go to such lengths to create places like these and what length these victims would do just to survive. One thing that does really affect the overall quality of the movie though, and that kind of really turns me off into not giving it a very big recommendation, is that it has such a horrible ending. It's nothing sad or crazy, it's just, it really leaves you scratching your head as to what the hell just happened and why. Well, hopefully the upcoming sequel, Escape Room 2, has all the answers we all need and doesn't leave us shaking our heads in confusion. You can find this movie streaming on Hulu, Starz, and Sling TV with your regular subscription. This movie really was a clever way to turn a simple game into a nightmare. Speaking of simple games turned into a nightmare, you ever play a horrible, death-defying game of hide and seek? Well, I haven't, but I've seen it in 2019's most underrated horror film, Ready or Not. Starring the fake Margot Robbie as Samara Weaving, the actress you might have seen in Netflix's version of Home Alone, The Babysitter, alongside Glenn from The Walking Dead and Mayhem, and you can catch her in her recently new movie, Guns Akimbo, with Harry Potter. Ready or Not follows the main character of Grace, who is finally introduced to her fiance's family the day of their wedding. Grace is very nervous and really wants to make a good impression and a great connection, as she's never really had a family of her own. Everyone watches as the two say their vows and get married. Happily ever after, right? Well, I wouldn't call it that, as Grace is now a part of the Ladomas family, who happen to be a very wealthy family known for all of their Hasbro-like games. And when you join a family game such as that, you gotta do a little playtime yourself in order to get good with the relatives. Grace is invited to a family tradition game in which she picks out a card from inside the family's box. Everyone's faces look in shock when Grace pulls out the hide and seek card, as all hell is ready to break loose, and trust me, it's not gonna be pretty. I'm not gonna go too much into spoilers than what I've already described, but this movie is an absolute blast from beginning to end. The cast just does an amazing job of what they were given with, and Samara Weaving kills it in her role as Grace. It's a great representation of light versus dark, with her name literally being Grey. These things get crazy in this movie. It makes you really think twice about ever playing a game of hide and seek again. They put this girl through hell, and her willingness to fight and survive is insane. Unlike Escape Room, the ending to this film left me pretty damn satisfied. It is an amazing blend of horror and dark comedy that told a great, funny, yet serious enough story that deserves more than one watch in my opinion. I would love to go into every little detail and explain as to why this was such a great movie and why I loved it so much, but I truly don't want to get into spoiler territory, as Lucas Baker says it best himself.
I don't do spoilers!
You can catch this hidden gem for rent or purchase whatever streaming platforms you prefer. This was truly the most unappreciated film of 2019. Now let's turn that little talk around and talk about the most appreciated horror film of that year.
Be careful.
Us. Now this movie comes from the mind of comedian turned horror director Jordan Peele, as this is his second biggest hit after 2017's Get Out, which is also an amazing movie, but as this one stands out far more than his predecessor. Us has an amazing cast as the family who also played a deranged, horrifying version of themselves. We got two Black Panther allies turned lovers, Lupita Nyong and Winston Duke, who play the couple of Adelaide and Gabe Wilson. They are also joined by their lovely kids Zora and Jason, played by Shahida Wright and Evan Alec. The family takes a vacation out to California, but things quickly become strange when a group of strangers stand right outside of their home. And who are these strangers? It's none other than the horrified versions of themselves known as the Tether: Red, Abraham, Pluto, and Ombre. I really love this movie and its message it has to say about the American way, and helped along with the depictions of different class levels of what is considered success. This movie heavily intertwines with the 80s, as it is heavily inspired by the Hands Across America ad and the VHS tapes left all around the TV screen in the very beginning of the film, even down to the Michael Jackson shirt and the gloves they wear that was heavily inspired from the king himself. It is just so well crafted, and the performance that Lupita gives while playing both Adeline and Red is just amazing. The two couldn't be any similar, yet so different in so many ways that it makes it truly insane. Winston Duke gives another great hilarious performance, being more the comic relief character in a similar way that Rod does in Get Out.
I mean, I told you not to go in that house.
This movie really has you wondering, what is down below? You can watch Us on Amazon Prime, Hulu, and HBO Now. And this movie has an amazing twist of an ending, as well, that I won't be going into, but honestly, if you really want to talk about twist endings, we all need to talk about Triangle. The 2009 horror movie Triangle is the most hidden gem of them all. I would have found this movie a couple months ago, and let's just say it is truly amazing. It fits together so well. Without going into too much detail, the beginning of the movie is the end of the movie, and the end of the movie is the beginning of the movie. And I know that doesn't make any sense at the moment, but it will once you watch it, because it is absolutely amazing. The story follows Jess, a single mother of a child with autism, who decided to take a day to herself and boat out with a guy she met at work who happened to invite her out to the boat ride with some of his friends. Now this shit gets crazy. When the wind suddenly stops and the group finds themselves out in the middle of nowhere, they look around to find a damn thunderstorm and the waves that flip their boat over. Hours after the tragic event, the group finds themselves on top of this weird, strange boat. Now on this boat is where things start to take a quick, weird turn. Now truthfully, I would love to make a separate video explaining this and the genius behind this movie, so I'm gonna do that. Watch out for next week's video, but I do not want to go into spoiler territory for this movie because I want you to watch it before you even watch any other video explaining anything, and tell me what your opinions are. Tell me what you think, because I was mind blown and I still didn't get it the first time. I had to watch it about 2 to 3 more times in order to understand every little detail to it. Out of everything on my list, I honestly would suggest to watch this movie the most, because you will not be disappointed. You can luckily find this movie for free right off of YouTube or the free Tubi streaming service. Another movie that will not disappoint is probably one of my favorite all-time movies still to this very day. The 2013 Evil Dead remake. Now this movie is balls to the wall crazy in the best ways. It is interesting and has you glued to the screen from the moment it begins. It does not take a second to drag at all. Everything is clear from the moment we start. This movie is like a roller coaster ride, and it is a great remake considering that most horror remakes are not really that good. Unfortunately here, it doesn't follow the great treasure of the original Evil Dead created by Sam Raimi. His work is amazing throughout the original film, but this one is a bit more crazier, as it leans more towards the horror side than the original did with its more comedy look. This iteration of Evil Dead follows Mia and her brother David along with their group of friends who all come out to this creepy ass cabin in the woods. Also a great movie, check it out. This cabin is in the middle of nowhere. We watch as the group had all brought Mia here to help her get over her horrible drug addiction, as she's really gone off the deep end. The group quickly gets rid of her drugs and try their best to help keep her clean, but things take a dark turn when a book of secrets known as the Necromonica Ex Mortis, I think that's how you pronounce it, or let's just say the Book of the Dead, it's discovered within the basement of the cabin. Eric opens the book and releases unspeakable evil into the cabin that will slowly come after the group. Starting with Mia, things get really out of hand, leaving her older brother David to find and try to save each and every one of his friends. The language, the gore, the action, this movie is great in so many ways and truly deserves a good watch or two in my opinion, as it will leave you on the edge of your seat the entire time and have your jaw drop to the floor. You can find this streaming on Amazon Prime. But if fast-paced, crazy balls-to-the-wall horror isn't really 100% your thing, let me tell you about our last choice. This one's more of a slow but rewarding kind of burn. Hereditary. This film follows what seems to be a regular family, the Grahams, who are dealing with the loss of their grandmother. Annie, the mother of the family, really didn't have such a strong connection with her mother, basically thinking of her as kind of like a stranger at some point, who had just happened to return into her life when she gave birth to her second child, a girl named Charlie. Now Charlie, she's a pretty weird kid, whose special little thing is her little... God, it's just so creepy. The foreshadowing into the events that play out later in the film is done so well. Along with the cinematography and the set design, it is so good, making a simple, nice home feel like a place you can never escape from. Even just the first shot of the movie alone will show you how brilliant this film is. After another tragic event happens, Annie soon learns that things aren't what they seem, as something a bit demonic and cult-like is lurking in the shadows, and something might be coming after her and her family. This is the best way I can describe it, without really getting too much into spoilers, and without spoiling the movie at whole. But let me just say, it is a very nice slow burn, and I still think it's better than Ari Aster's second film, Midsommar, which I watched about 3 times now, and I kinda still don't like it. But Hereditary, this thing is a masterpiece. It leaves you feeling so uncomfortable, and the desperation we see in Annie is something we can all really feel. What happens with Peter in the school made me jump out of my seat in horror cringe, as that shit made me so uncomfortable. You all need to give this movie a watch as soon as you can, and trust me, you're not going to be disappointed, as you won't be disappointed with a single one listed on this list. You can now stream Hereditary on Amazon Prime, purchase it or rent it wherever they may be sold. Now that was my top 6 list of horror films you should definitely watch during the quarantine. Let me know what you think of these movies. Comment if you watched them, give me your opinion. Tell me what you think about Triangle if you truly understand it the first time while watching. Same with Hereditary and a couple other of these films on here. What did you think of Evil Dead? Was it balls to the wall crazy as described? Well, just let me know. Comment down below, give the video a like, subscribe for more, as we're going to be dropping new videos every Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.